Alright, so in this video, I'm going to tell you about my FXR build. Let's check it out. Alright, what's going on YouTube? FXDLSBROOKLYN is back in the building. And yeah, so we're about over a year with this 1988 FXR. And yeah, it's been quite a journey with this bike. I get comments here and there where folks are just asking like, hey, whatever happened with that FXR? Because I know in terms of content of updating you exactly what I did with this bike and where we're at. I know I haven't dropped much, so I figured let's just drop a video showing you some of the parts that I threw on this bike and where we are currently at with it. So those who have been following the story of this bike, I did pick up this bike over a year ago. So as always, shout out to Peter Gunz for trusting me with this FXR. That is who sold it to me. It's not every day that he lets go of one of his prized bikes, but here we are. And alright, let's talk about some of the big upgrades that we threw on this bike, probably from the last time you saw it. The first really big one is of course the Fab28 pipe. Major shout out to Fab28 for supporting this build. You can see I've already burned part of my boot into that pipe as per usual, and the pipe's only been on for this was kind of a recent addition, so I probably maybe only put 100 miles on it, which is why it looks so good. If you look on it on my lowrider where I got like over 30,000 miles on it, it looks very different than this one. But yeah, Fab28 coming in strong. And in terms of performance upgrades, I definitely said it before, I say it again, nothing wakes the bike up like a Fab28 pipe. And yeah, like one of the biggest things I noticed after throwing that pipe on, and I remember feeling that way when I put on my Dynas, is you get more out of every gear. So basically situations where I'd be throwing this bike into third gear, I could handle with second gear. You could really stretch out the gears just by throwing this pipe on. So yep, it's been a huge upgrade, and again, shout out to the good folks over at Fab28. And besides that, I'll always say that I don't think there's a pipe out there that looks as good or sounds as good. But before I forget, because I always forget to do this in these videos, let's just do a startup so you could actually hear the pipe. Alright, so there you have it. There's your startup. I don't know how good the video is going to capture that, but the thing sounds wicked. You'll hear on the rides, if you're following my moto vlogs, things backfiring like crazy, and that is after rejetting the carburetor. But yeah, man, nothing sounds as good as a Fab. Thing really woke the bike up and couldn't be more psyched about it. I'll do a separate video just updating you now that I'm running those pipes for over 3 years on all my bikes at this point. But alright, what else did we change up? Alright, so in terms of also just changing up the ride, changing up the bars has been huge in terms of, you know, just how this bike feels. So we went with the Biltwell Murdock risers. I think these are 13 inches. I don't think they're 11 inches. I don't know. I gotta look. I'll put it in the description. I know that's like important information for a lot of you. But we did choose something with the pullback. That's what I like with my Lucky 13s. But I also wanted to run something that wasn't Lucky 13s just to switch it up a little bit. As for the bar, it is the Thrashin Low Bend, I think, or Mid Bend. I don't know. It's one of those. I'll put the parts in the description if I'm getting any of that wrong. I know folks who are trying to dial in their bars, that is important information. But yeah, in terms of the riding position before I threw those bars on, it was pretty horrendous, right? Not a bike that I was excited to do 200 plus miles on. But after making that, you could just feel, you know, the normal feelings after you dial in your bars. More control, you know, you could put in longer miles comfortably. Arms are sitting parallel, you know, it's pretty good. Definitely one of the first upgrades you want to make if you're getting a new bike. So besides doing the bars, I was also kind of sad because we had to take off those chrome gauges. There was like a drag specialties gauge that we used to have on there. It had a backlight that was blue. I thought that was cool because it matched the tank. Found these on eBay, and again, unfortunately, wasn't going to be able to make the drag specialties work, but we were able to find these on eBay. And that's kind of what we're running now. I think these came off of of a FXRT, if I remember correctly. These were nothing fancy. You could see, like, just went right on, you know, no fancy bracket or anything. And yeah, kind of amazed how well those worked out. You all know with my lowrider, I do like to have my gauges up higher, and I wasn't willing to do anything less with this bike. So glad we were able to find that. As for the grips, we are running those Biltwell Alumincore. These are the ones where you could actually take this off if you start to wear the grips down, and then you can replace them with new grips. Really happy with these so far. They feel equivalent to maybe the thrusters if you've ever run those, but like I said, it's nice because you can replace them without having to change out the entire grip. So I'm pretty happy with those right now. So another important upgrade is the Memphis Shades Gauntlet fairing. This was a absolute must. I've ran this fairing before back in 2016 on my lowrider, and I remember enjoying it so much. The feeling of a quarter fairing, not going as high as say a Road Warrior, but still having some wind protection. My original purpose with this bike was to primarily ride it in the city, so I thought the Gauntlet was going to be perfect, whereas I could still hop on the highway and feel like I'm getting a good amount of wind protection. As for looks, I think it looks great. Out of all the quarter fairings out there, this is my favorite one in terms of the style points. Installation's easy, and yeah, man, shout out to the good folks over at Memphis Shades. One thing I do have to decide is you can see that we did leave that fairing as a gloss vivid black. Try to decide if I want to paint it gray to match the bike, or blue to match the bike, or a combination, or if I just want to leave it black. So that's what I'm trying to figure out with that fairing. But again, that was a huge upgrade. So while we're up here, we did upgrade the lighting in the front as well. Everything on here has been provided by Moons MC. So again, shout out to Moons MC for supporting this build. And I'm in love, man. That in terms of lighting, I really have not been able to find anything as good as what Moons offers. So I love these little strips on here. I actually kind of want to throw these on my Dyna to get rid of the turn signals. I'll throw them on. They're super bright, but also just really low profile. We got our little bar lamp over here. I used to run this on my lowrider. Puts off an insane amount of light. And then in terms of the headlight, we went with the Fly Eye V2. Way brighter than the original Fly Eye. And again, you know, we'll have to throw that on so you can see. But this bike, for a small FXR, is throwing out an insane amount of light. So there you go. You know, that, especially that Fly Eye V2, that thing is just super bright. But again, the thing that I was really caught off guard was just how much visibility I was going to get from these little strips. I don't think the video is going to pick it up, but those things actually give off a lot of light. So in terms of visibility, I'm really happy with the lighting. You know, it definitely needed to be upgraded. And I know what you're asking, like, how is it at night? That's a separate video. So I'll do my best to throw up some riding footage at night. But yeah, man, that's what we have. All right, next up we have the IMZZ Elite Crash Bar. This was actually a gift from my brother in Miles, Bung Asphalt. He had ordered this mistakenly for his Dyna years ago and just had it sitting around. So when I bought an FXR, he actually gave it to me. And yeah, I knew I wanted to put some serious miles on this bike. So you do want to have the opportunity to stretch out your legs when you can. And then of course, I'm only human. Bike drops do happen. I have not come close to dropping this bike just because the weight is so light, and wound up losing the bike. It's funny how things come full circle like that. But again, that's the IMZZ Crash Bar. We got the Flo MX Style Pegs. Used to run these on the Dyna. Really happy with them. Didn't want to go full floorboard, so kept it low profile with these. You can never go wrong with these. In terms of a seat, we're just rocking the standard Saddleman step up for an FXR, right? Kind of regret not being patient and getting a SDC custom for this, but again, for the miles I'm doing on this, the seat's working just fine. As for the rotors, we are running Lyndall Rotors front and back. Originally, these were all black, but you could see that a lot of that black wore off. It probably wore off within the first 100 miles. That happened really quickly. So if you're someone that's buying these thinking that they're going to stay the color that you're buying them, it's probably not going to happen. But if we're talking looks here, it's totally fine for me because it does kind of match the spokes a little bit and other accents of the bike, so it's not really a big deal for me. But again, if you're someone that's thinking about buying those rotors, just be aware, you know, at least in my situation, that color did fade really quickly. But yeah, man, in terms of the rotor game, nothing pops like a Lyndall, so we threw those on there. Okay, suspension. This is the Super Shox suspension, which I'm actually really happy with, man. For the price of these things perform very well. I think what is on here, again, this is something that Peter Gunz actually had on when he sold me the bike, but if I had to guess, I'd say these feel like 11-inch, max 12-inch, but yeah, I feel like they're 11-inch. And up front, we did put the fork braces on here. You know, I'm trying to do a little thing with the black accents on this bike, so I thought that would make things pop a little bit. So these are the fork braces from Hardcore Cycles. And in terms of front suspension on this bike, it's pretty cool because it's the only year that Harley-Davidson installed air ride suspension into their bikes. So that's what I still have in here. It is the air ride. And honestly, for me, you know, those rear Super Shox plus the air ride in the front has felt really good, so I really do not have any plans of changing that up, and I think it's a pretty cool and unique thing about this bike. You don't really see that too often. Next up, we have the Arlen Ness air filter. You know, switched out that filter that we had on there. In terms of the carburetor, we are running a McCuney carb. The engine is a 80 cubic inch Evo. The cams have been upgraded, so this bike does what it needs to do, works just fine on the highway. Biltwell Exfil, huge fan of this bag. You know, in terms of doing the city miles, this is really all I needed, so I've done a video for this bag. I think this is like the perfect day trip bag, the perfect city bag. So yeah, man, in terms of storage right now, that's all we're really running. It's just that Biltwell Exfil 7. And we did do a chain conversion on this bike. Yes, I definitely need to do some maintenance on this chain, some lubrication, etc. And that is the chain kit that is provided from Hardcore Cycles. So hit them up if you're interested in a chain kit. It's what I run on most of my bikes. Nothing is going to be stronger than a chain. Nothing is going to look cooler than a chain. Hashtag chain and maintain. And that's pretty much it. I don't think I'm missing anything at this point. You know, we'll just talk a little bit about where I'm going with this. Future upgrades, right? In the very near future, definitely am going to be taking off these old man floorboards. I kept them on because I thought that Jenny would like them as a passenger, but then she was like, yeah, honestly, I could take them or leave them. So just how bad they look, I'm gonna throw on just really low profile pegs on there because I really like that battery cover, that like triangular section, and I feel like those floorboards kind of ruin that a little bit. So gonna be taking those off probably as close as today. This red taillight, probably gonna throw something on that's in dark smoke, get some LED action on there, so that's gonna be changed up at some point. Oh my god, this kickstand drives me crazy. I absolutely hate this kickstand. If anyone knows a quick fix for this, you let me know, but at some point I definitely want to switch up and get like the Dyna kickstand that will kind of go under rather than this one. I feel like at all times, every time I park this bike, it's just gonna drop. So it's a sketchy kickstand, so we are definitely looking to swap that out at some point. You do see the brackets here on the rear fender. These are actually for the Thrashin Supply Essential bags. Those are those little tiny side bags. I would really like to throw those on. When I threw the brackets on, unfortunately it just doesn't clear the little sissy bar, and I really like this little sissy bar on here, so I'm trying to find a way to make those work without having to take off this hard mounted sissy bar. So hopefully we can find a way to get those bags on there. It'd be really nice, but also I kind of like the look of the bike without them too, so it's like, I don't know, a win-win. So I'm fine with them not being on right now too. And that's really it. So yeah, we have built the perfect Brooklyn FXR at this point. I am super happy with this bike, clicking my heels every day I ride this. This has pretty much been my main bike for the last month. Yeah, I don't know, like once you ride these and you put some miles on this, it's kind of hard to want to hop on anything else. So this bike has been getting a lot of attention. I want to give a shout out to the companies who have supported this build. That's Fab28, Memphis Shades, Hardcore Cycles, Get Lowered, and Moons MC. And of course I want to give a shout out to Sal and Justin from Vax Moto for helping me get this bike dialed in, and you know, just being there to continue to work out the kinks when they come up with this bike, because yeah, there's definitely still some kinks that we're working out, but in terms of this bike being reliable and ready to ride and crush city miles, it's definitely there right now, and I'm definitely enjoying it very much. But on that, for all of you who asked what's going on with this FXR, I hope I did it justice, and as always, I want to put it out there to you all. where do you all think I should take this? Is there a different direction I should go with any of these upgrades? Is there something that you think is missing? In the comments, let me know, because your feedback is always very, very important, especially when it comes to builds like this. As always, thank you for watching. Stay safe out there, stay low, ride Dynas, ride FXRs. Doesn't matter what you ride, it just matters that you ride. And on that, FXDLSBROOKLYN is out.